If you just use very basic words in IELTS speaking like good, bad, or nice, well, that's not showing the examiner that you have a wide range of vocabulary. So in this video, I'm going to show you 10 common words that most candidates use and better alternatives that will help you sound more natural and get a higher score. Now, before we start, if you want to learn exactly how to get a band 7 or higher in every part of the IELTS test, including learning high-level vocabulary, my full IELTS course is going to take you through everything step by step. You can check it out in the description below. All right, let's get started with the first common word, which is good. Obviously, good is a very common word, and the problem with good is it's just too general. Now, when I say too general, I mean it doesn't give much detail. It's not very specific, and it's just very basic. So the first alternative for good is beneficial. Now, beneficial is an adjective, and it means helpful or has a positive effect. So look at this example here. I think it's good for young children. No, I think it's beneficial for young children to incorporate reading into their daily routines. So now you can see that with this sentence, it's more specific. We're saying that it has a positive effect on children instead of just saying good. Now, the next one you can use instead of good is valuable. Valuable simply means very useful or very important. Here's an example. My internship was good. Well, no, let's change that. My internship was really valuable because I learned practical skills that I couldn't get from university. So instead of just saying good, we're saying valuable because the experience was very useful. All right, let's move on to the second word, which is bad. Again, obviously bad is a very common word. So instead of saying bad, you can use the word harmful, which means causing damage or having a negative effect. For example, I think fast food is bad. No, let's change that. I think fast food is harmful to your health, so it should be regulated. Now, please note, with harmful, sometimes you need to use the preposition to. Now, again, we're being more specific because instead of just saying bad, which is very general, we're saying that fast food can damage our health. Another one you can use is unpleasant. This means uncomfortable or not enjoyable. So, for example, the weather during our holiday was bad. Well, no. We could say the weather during our holiday was unpleasant and we couldn't enjoy any activities. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is like. A lot of students say I like, and this is obviously a very common phrase. So instead, you can use the phrase I'm a big fan of. This is a very casual and informal way to say that you really like something. For example, I like watching documentaries. Well, no, we could say I'm a big fan of watching documentaries, especially ones about science or history. Now, another way you can say you like something is by saying you're passionate about something. But please note, passionate means you care deeply about something or you really enjoy doing something. So don't use this one if you like something just a little bit. So here's an example. I like learning new languages. Well, no, we could change that. I'm passionate about learning new languages as it opens doors to many opportunities. Now let's move on to the next one, which is don't like. So instead of saying I don't like, you can use the phrase I'm not a fan of. This is a very casual, a very informal way to say that you don't like something. So for example, I don't like staying up late. Well, no, let's change that. I'm not a fan of staying up late during the week because it makes me tired the next day. Now, another one we can use is actually an idiom, and it's quite informal, so you wouldn't use it in writing. It's not my cup of tea. Now, this idiom simply means something you're not interested in or something you don't really enjoy. So here's an example. I don't like watching reality shows. Well, no, let's change that. Watching reality shows is not my cup of tea. Now, a note with this one, normally you put the topic at the start and then you say it's not my cup of tea. All right, let's move on to the next one now, which is kind. Kind is one of the most common words I hear in the speaking test when students are talking about someone or describing someone. So instead of saying kind, you can use the word caring, which simply means showing concern for others or just wanting to help. So here's an example. My grandmother is really kind. Well, no, we could say my grandmother is really caring and looks after everyone in the family. Now, the next one you can use instead of kind is thoughtful. This means someone who considers people's feelings and thinks about their feelings. So here's an example. My friend was really kind. Well, no, let's change that. My friend was really thoughtful. She helped me study when I was stressed about my exams. All right, let's move on to number 6 now, which is thing. Now, the word thing is very general and there's no perfect alternative. It really depends on what you're describing. So instead of using thing, try to be more specific and choose the best word for the situation. But here are 2 better options you can use in certain situations. The first one is belongings. This simply means personal items or things that you own. So here's an example. I packed all my things. No, let's change that. I packed all my belongings before leaving for the airport. Now, please note that belongings is normally used to refer to physical things rather than things that you can't touch. All right, so the next one you can use is aspect. An aspect means a particular part or a particular feature of something. One thing I liked, no, let's change that. One aspect I liked about the job was the flexibility. Let's move on to the next one now, which is people. So instead of saying people, which is obviously a very common word, you can say individuals, which means single human beings. Now, this is a formal word, so it's not appropriate in all situations, but you can definitely use it in speaking and writing. Here's an example. I think people should try. Let's change that. I think individuals should try to recycle more to help the environment. The next one you can use is citizens. Now, citizen is talking about someone who lives in or belongs to a particular country or city. People should be more aware. No, let's change that. Citizens should be more aware of their responsibilities in society. Let's move on to the next one now, number 8, which is a lot. All right, so the first alternative for a lot is a significant number of. This is a more formal way to describe many countable things. Let me say that again, to describe countable things. So here's an example. A lot of people choose to live in cities. Well, no, let's change that. A significant number of people choose to live in cities for better job opportunities. Now, this is a great phrase to use to sound more professional than just saying a lot. All right, the next alternative for a lot is a great deal of. Now, this one is normally used with uncountable nouns. Let me say that again. A great deal of is normally used with uncountable nouns. So here's an example. A lot of attention has been given. Let's change that. A great deal of attention has been given to climate change recently. All right, let's move on to the next one now, which is no. The first phrase you can use instead of no is to be aware of. This is a very professional phrase, and it simply means to have knowledge of something. It's important to know the customs. No, let's change that. It's important to be aware of the customs of other countries when traveling abroad. This is much more professional than simply saying no. The next phrase you can use is to be familiar with. This simply means to have experience or knowledge with something, normally because you've done it before or you've maybe practiced it before. Most students know the basic structure. No, let's change that. Most students are familiar with the basic structure of an IELTS essay. Let's move on to the next one now, which is get. Now, the word get is obviously a very common word in English, but it's also very general. It can mean many different things like receive, become, achieve, depending on the situation. So instead of trying to remember just one synonym, it's better to think about what you really want to say. So the first alternative for get is receive. This simply means when you are given something or to get something which is now yours. So for example, I got a message. No, I received a message from my teacher the other day. This is much more professional than just saying I got. Now, the next word you might be able to use instead of get is become. Now, become simply means to begin to be something different. Here's an example. Many young people get more. No, many young people become more independent as they grow older. So they were 10 basic words you should try to avoid. If you want to learn alternatives for very plus adjective, like very boring or very small, then check out this video right here. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned a lot, and I'll see you in the next lesson.